Previously on the Wolfe's return, Alexander Wolfe had everything: power, wealth, an empire built on revenge and ambition. But 8 years ago, he lost the only thing that mattered: Elena Hart, the woman he loved, who disappeared without explanation. When she returned as the lawyer hired to destroy him, the truth finally surfaced. She'd been dying of cancer, pregnant with their daughter, and made the impossible choice to save him from watching her die. Now, just as they've found their way back to each other, Elena's cancer has returned. Stage 4, weeks, maybe months, and she's walked out his door for what might be the last time, leaving Alexander alone with an impossible question. What is power worth if you can't save the one person you love? This is how their story ends. The penthouse is silent. Alexander Wolfe stands at the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the sun rise over the city he conquered. In his reflection, he barely recognizes himself. Behind him, on the table, the folder that could save his empire and the phone that could take him to Elena. For the first time in 15 years, Alexander doesn't know what to do. His entire adult life has been about control, about calculated risks, about winning at any cost. But there's no winning this. If he chooses the press conference, he saves his company but loses precious time with Elena. If he chooses Elena, everything he's built, everything his father died for, crumbles. The phone rings. It's Marcus Chen. Alexander answers with ice in his voice. "You have 30 seconds before I hang up and destroy you." Marcus laughs. That oil-slick sound Alexander remembers from 5 years ago when Marcus tried to steal his company the first time. "I'm calling to offer you a deal, Alexander. Drop the press conference, walk away from Elena, let the case proceed, and I'll make this all go away. Your company survives, your reputation intact, and if I refuse, then tomorrow morning the world learns that your entire empire was built on a revenge plot. Your investors flee, your board removes you, and you'll have nothing." Marcus pauses. "Not even time to say goodbye to the woman you love, because while you're fighting me in court, she'll be dying alone." The line goes dead. Alexander stands motionless for 10 seconds that feel like 10 years. Then he moves. He grabs his keys, his phone, leaves the folder on the table. In the elevator down to the parking garage, he calls his COO. "Cancel the press conference," he says. "Sir, but Marcus will—" "I know what Marcus will do. Do it anyway. Alexander, your company isn't worth a damn if I'm not the man she believed I could be." He hangs up, gets in his car, and for the first time since he was 16 years old, Alexander Wolfe chooses something other than revenge. Seattle General Hospital, Oncology Wing. Alexander finds Elena in a private room, already changed into a hospital gown, IV in her arm. She looks small in the bed. Fragile, nothing like the warrior who faced him across conference tables. She sees him in the doorway, and her eyes fill with tears. "You're supposed to be at the press conference," she whispers. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." He crosses to her bedside, takes her hand. "Alexander, your company will be there or it won't. But you won't be, and I'm not making the same mistake twice." Elena's breath catches. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I spent 8 years building an empire to prove I was worthy of you, but you never needed the empire. You just needed me." He sits on the edge of her bed. "So that's what you get, just me, for however long we have." She pulls him down into a kiss that tastes like tears and last chances. "I don't deserve this," she says against his mouth. "Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway." For the first time in weeks, Elena laughs. It's weak, but it's real. Outside the window, his phone starts buzzing, messages flooding in. The business world reacting to his no-show. Marcus making his moves, the empire beginning to fracture. Alexander silences the phone and sets it face down. "Tell me what you need," he says to Elena. "You," she answers, "just you. 9 years ago, before the empire, before the cancer, before everything fell apart. They were at Coney Island on a random Tuesday because Elena had never been. And Alexander insisted that was a crime against humanity. She won him a stuffed wolf at a carnival game, laughed at him on the cyclone when he pretended to be terrified just to make her feel braver. They ate overpriced hot dogs and watched the sunset from the pier. "If you could have anything in the world," Elena asked, What would it be? Alexander looked at her, wind-blown hair, mustard on her cheek, eyes full of joy. This, he said, just this. Forever. She kissed the mustard off his face. Then you're in luck, because I'm not going anywhere. It was the only promise she ever broke, and the only one she's about to keep. Days blur into weeks. Alexander moves into Elena's hospital room, sleeps in the chair beside her bed, holds her hand through chemo sessions that leave her too weak to speak. He reads to her when she can't sleep. Old novels, legal thrillers that make her smile because they're so unrealistic. Poetry she used to love. He brings her real food when hospital meals make her sick. Bribes nurses to bend visiting hours. Learns more about leukemia than he ever wanted to know. And every morning, he wakes up grateful she's still breathing. Meanwhile, the world outside continues without him. Marcus takes control of Alexander's company through a hostile board vote. The press has a field day. Fallen Titan. Billionaire's spectacular collapse. Where is Alexander Wolfe? His assets are frozen, his properties seized, everything he built for 15 years, dismantled in 15 days. Elena sees the news on her room's TV. Alexander, we have to fight this. You can't just let it burn, he says simply. I'm done fighting wars that don't matter. Your father would understand. He squeezes her hand. I spent 15 years avenging him, but he didn't die, so I could become a hollow monument to revenge. He died trying to protect people. Maybe it's time I actually honored that. Elena studies his face. Who are you, and what have you done with Alexander Wolfe? You killed him, Alexander says. 8 years ago when you left, and then you brought him back to life yesterday when you let me stay. 3 weeks into treatment, Alexander is getting coffee in the hospital cafeteria when someone sits across from him. Marcus Chen. Alexander's entire body goes rigid. You have 5 seconds to leave before I break every bone in your hand. I'm not here to gloat, Marcus says quietly. Then why are you here? Marcus slides a folder across the table. Alexander doesn't touch it. That's the evidence I fabricated against you, Marcus says. Proof that I lied. Everything you need to get your company back, press charges against me, destroy me the way I tried to destroy you. Alexander stares at him. Why? Because I went to see Elena yesterday. Marcus's voice cracks slightly. She doesn't know. I told the nurses I was her uncle. I saw what stage 4 looks like. He stops, composes himself. My daughter died of leukemia 12 years ago. She was 9. Silence. I became a monster after that, Marcus continues. Blamed the world. Blamed you because you had everything I lost. Youth, drive, a future. I wanted to take it all away from you. He looks at Alexander with hollow eyes. But watching you choose her over everything, that's not something a monster does. That's something my daughter would have wanted me to do if I'd been brave enough. He stands to leave. Marcus. The older man stops. I'm sorry, Alexander says. About your daughter. Marcus nods once. Save Elena. That's the only thing that matters now. Trust me. You don't want to live with the alternative. He walks away, leaving the folder on the table. Alexander takes the folder back to Elena's room. She's awake, stronger today. The treatment is working, slowly, painfully, but working. What's that? She asks. A second chance. He shows her the evidence. Marcus gave me everything. I can get the company back, prosecute him, rebuild. Elena's eyes widen. Alexander, that's everything you lost. I know. So why do you look like you're about to throw it away? He sits beside her bed, folder in his lap. Because I've been thinking about what my father really wanted. Not revenge, not an empire built on the graves of his enemies. He wanted to expose corruption, to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. So maybe there's a better way to honor him than becoming what he fought against. Alexander opens the folder, studies the evidence, then looks at Elena with something new in his eyes. Not the cold calculation of the billionaire, but something warmer, purposeful. I'm going to use this evidence, he says, but not to destroy Marcus, to expose the system that killed my father, the banks, the regulatory failures, the executives who are still out there destroying lives. He takes her hand. I'm going to build something different, A foundation, legal aid for whistleblowers, protection for people trying to do the right thing. Your kind of justice, Elena, not mine. Tears stream down her face. That would take everything you have left. I know. You'd have to liquidate your remaining assets. You'd be starting over from nothing. I've done it before. He smiles, and last time I had you seems to be my secret weapon. Elena pulls him close. I love you. I've loved you through 8 years of distance and guilt and grief, and I'll love you through whatever comes next. Even if it's not much time. Especially then. Elena is in remission, not cured, the doctors are careful about that word, but stable, responding to treatment, buying time measured in years, not weeks. Alexander sold everything, the penthouse, the cars, every asset Marcus didn't already take. He used half the money to build the Wolfe Foundation, named after Elena and his father. They provide legal defense for corporate whistleblowers, fund investigations into financial fraud, protect the people who speak truth to power. Elena runs the legal division from a small office in Brooklyn, the same neighborhood where they first met. Full circle. Alexander works beside her, no longer the feared billionaire, just a man trying to do something that matters. They live in a modest apartment. The same one they shared 9 years ago, miraculously still available. They cook midnight eggs. They argue about cases. They hold each other through her bad days when the treatment makes her too sick to stand. And they're happy. Not the desperate, borrowed happiness of people pretending everything's fine, but the hard-earned, battle-scarred happiness of two people who lost everything and found what actually mattered. One evening, Alexander gets a call from his former COO. The board wants you back, she says. Marcus has run the company into the ground, stocks down 60%. Half the executives have quit. They're willing to give you full control again if you return. Alexander looks at Elena, curled up on their second-hand couch, reading legal briefs, glasses sliding down her nose. Tell them no, he says. Alexander, this is everything. This is nothing, he interrupts. Everything is right here, and I'm not leaving it again. He hangs up. Elena looks up. Was that about the company? Doesn't matter. She studies him for a long moment, then smiles. Liar. But I'll allow it. That night, lying in bed, Elena asks the question that's been haunting both of them. What happens when the remission ends? Alexander pulls her closer. Then we fight. And if we lose that fight, we make sure every single day before then was worth living. You're not afraid. Terrified, he admits. But not of losing you anymore. I already did that once, survived it. Barely. This time? He kisses her forehead. This time I get to actually be with you until the end. However and whenever that comes. That's not tragedy. That's a gift. 6 months after giving Alexander the evidence, Marcus Chen is indicted for corporate fraud. But before the trial, he does something unexpected. He pleads guilty, cooperates fully, and donates his entire fortune to the Wolfe Foundation. Alexander visits him in prison before sentencing. Why? Alexander asks. Marcus looks older, smaller without his power. Because my daughter's been dead for 12 years, and I've been dead right alongside her. But you? You chose to live, and that made me realize I've been haunting the wrong life. It doesn't bring her back. No. But maybe it means something she fought for matters. She wanted to be a doctor, save people. Marcus manages a broken smile. Guess I'm finally doing what she would have wanted. Alexander stands to leave, then stops. For what it's worth, I think she'd be proud of you now. That's worth everything. The Wolfe Foundation's 1-year anniversary gala. It's not in a luxury ballroom. It's in a Brooklyn community center, surrounded by the people they've helped. Families saved from predatory lenders, whistleblowers who exposed corporate malfeasance, workers who got their pensions back. Elena gives the speech. She's thin, her hair still growing back from the latest round of treatment, but her voice is strong. A year ago, I thought I was dying. And I was. But not from cancer, from the weight of secrets, from the burden of trying to protect people by pushing them away, from believing that love meant sacrifice instead of presence. She finds Alexander in the crowd. He's wearing a simple suit, not the designer armor of his billionaire days. He's smiling at her with everything he is. Someone taught me that the only thing worth building is something that makes people's lives better. Not empires that make you powerful, not monuments that make you feared, just better lives, safer lives, more honest lives. She walks over to Alexander, takes his hand. We don't know how much time we have, nobody does. But we know what we're doing with it, and that's everything. The room erupts in applause. Later, after the event, they walk home through Brooklyn streets, past the building where they first met, past the coffee shop where they fell in love, past all the ghosts of who they used to be. Regret anything? Elena asks. Alexander considers the question seriously. I regret the 8 years we lost, the daughter we'll never meet, the pain we caused each other. But I wouldn't trade this, us now, here, doing work that matters, for anything. Not even those 8 years back. He stops walking, turns to face her. You made me better, Elena. Made me real. Everything else was just expensive pretending. She kisses him in the middle of the sidewalk while taxis honk and strangers pass and life continues all around them. Take me home, she says, always. Elena's cancer never fully leaves. It comes back twice more over 5 years. Each time they fight. Each time they win. Not forever, but for now. The doctors say she's beaten the odds. Most stage 4 patients don't make it past 2 years. Elena's made it 5 and counting. The foundation grows. They help thousands of people. Alexander testifies before Congress about financial reform. Elena argues cases at the Supreme Court. They're not wealthy anymore. They'll never have the penthouse or the private jets or the power that once defined Alexander's existence. But they have midnight conversations and lazy Sunday mornings and the profound luxury of knowing exactly what matters. One evening, Elena finds Alexander in their home office looking at an old photo. It's the picture from Coney Island, the one where they're young and reckless and have no idea what's coming. Miss those days? She asks. Sometimes, he admits, not because they were better, just because we had more time stretching out ahead of us. More assumptions about forever. Elena sits beside him. You know what I've learned about forever? What? It doesn't mean endless time. It means time so fully lived that it feels infinite. She leans her head on his shoulder. We've lived 10 forevers in 5 years. And if the cancer wins next time, then we'll have lived 11 forevers, and that's more than most people get in 100 years. Alexander pulls her close. Outside, the city hums with ambition and hunger, and people chasing power they think will save them. Inside, Alexander Wolfe, former billionaire, fallen titan, reformed Wolfe, holds the only thing that ever saved him. And it's enough. 3 months later, Elena is back in the hospital. The cancer has spread to her brain. The doctors give her weeks. Alexander doesn't leave her side. On what turns out to be her last coherent day, she tells him, Don't go back to being that man, the one who needed an empire to feel worthy. Promise me. I promise. And don't mourn me like I'm unfinished business. We finished, Alexander. We got our ending. It was good. He's crying openly now. It wasn't long enough. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. She touches his face with trembling fingers. You chose me over everything. That's the only forever that matters. I love you. I know, I've always known. Even in the 8 years of silence, I knew. She smiles. That's how you survive me leaving. You remember that you were loved completely, without reservation, by someone who saw exactly who you were and chose you anyway. Elena. Thank you, she whispers, for coming back, for staying, for choosing us over the empire. Thank you for making me believe that love isn't about protection. It's about presence, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. She closes her eyes. I'm tired now. Then rest, he tells her. I'm right here. You always were, she breathes. Those are her last words. Elena Hart dies at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, with Alexander Wolfe holding her hand. The funeral is small, the people she helped, the lives she changed. Marcus Chen, out on parole, stands in the back and weeps for his daughter and for Elena, and for all the second chances he almost wasted. Alexander gives no eulogy. He can't find words that matter. Instead, he goes back to work. The foundation expands. In Elena's name, they start a program for families fighting medical bankruptcies, for people who have to choose between treatment and financial ruin. Alexander speaks at law schools, tells students about a woman who believed the law should protect people, not power. He never remarries, never even dates. When people ask why, he says, "I had my forever. Most people never get that. I'm not greedy enough to ask for two." 10 years after Elena's death, Alexander is 61 years old. He's standing at her grave on the anniversary of the day they met. He brings the same flowers every year, the cheap bodega roses she preferred to expensive arrangements. "I kept my promise," he tells her headstone. "I'm not that man anymore. I'm just me. The version you believed existed before I built all the armor." He sits on the grass beside her grave. "The foundation helped its 10,000th family last week. We're changing laws, protecting whistleblowers, doing the work you started." He smiles. "You'd probably say we're not moving fast enough. You always thought I was too cautious." A young couple walks past, arguing, passionate, clearly in love. They remind Alexander of who he and Elena used to be. He watches them disappear into the cemetery's trees. Then he stands, touches Elena's headstone one last time, and walks toward the exit. The sun is setting. The city awaits. The work continues. Alexander Wolfe is no longer a billionaire. He's no longer the feared Wolf of Wall Street. He's just a man who learned, too late and just in time, what actually matters, and every day he chooses to honor that lesson, not with monuments or empires, but with presence, with purpose, with the kind of love that survives death because it changed who you are at the cellular level. As he walks away from the cemetery, his phone rings. A new case, a whistleblower who needs protection, a family about to lose everything. Alexander answers. "This is Wolfe," he says. "Tell me how I can help." And the work continues. The love continues. The forever continues. Even after the ending, some love stories don't end with happily ever after. They end with purpose, with meaning, with the choice to keep becoming the person your love believed you could be. Alexander Wolfe lost his empire, his wealth, his power. But he found the only thing worth finding, a life worth living. In memory of Elena Hart, who taught a wolf to be human. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more stories about love, loss, and the things that truly matter.